Emily Wilson froze at the sound of the knock. It wasn't just the knock, it was who was standing behind the door. Because the man outside wasn't supposed to be there. He wasn't part of her world. And yet, for the third time that week, he had found her. Emily, his voice came through the door, calm, controlled. But carrying a weight that made her chest tighten. We need to talk. Her fingers curled tighter around the edge of the kitchen counter. Her mind racing, heart pounding in a way she hadn't felt in years. Not since the day her ex-husband walked out and told her she wasn't enough. And the worst part? A part of her already knew opening that door would change everything. Before we go further, where are you watching from right now? Drop your location in the comments. I want to see how far this story is reaching. And trust me, you want to stay till the end, because what this man does later will leave you speechless. 18 months earlier, Emily Wilson had signed divorce papers with shaking hands. Sitting across from a man she had once built her entire life around. "You stopped trying, Emily," he had said coldly, barely looking at her. "I needed more, and you weren't enough." Those words didn't just end her marriage, they rewired her. They turned her into someone who second-guessed every smile. Every effort. Every moment she thought she was doing okay. By the time she walked out of that courthouse in Ohio, holding her 4-year-old son Henry's hand, she wasn't just divorced. She was broken. Life after that became survival. Work, daycare, groceries. Bedtime stories, repeat. No space for love, no room for mistakes. Henry became her entire world, his laughter the only thing that kept her grounded. His small hands wrapping around her fingers like a reminder that she still mattered to someone. But even then, the silence at night was loud. Too loud. So when Logan Miller walked into her life, it didn't feel like something good. It felt like a disruption, a dangerous one. She first saw him on a random Tuesday afternoon. At the nonprofit center where she worked part-time. He didn't belong there. Everything about him screamed power, money, control. Tailored suit, expensive watch. The kind of quiet confidence that didn't need to prove itself. Logan Miller, a billionaire. And somehow, standing right in front of her. "I'm here to fund the expansion project," he had said, his voice smooth, but his eyes locked on her longer than necessary. Emily had nodded politely, keeping her distance, already uncomfortable. Men like him didn't look at women like her twice. And when they did, it usually came with a cost. But then he came back. The next week, and the week after. Always with a reason, always finding a way to speak to her. "You work too hard," he had said once, watching her juggle paperwork and phone calls. "I have to," she replied, not looking up. "And when do you live?" That question hit harder than it should have. At first, she avoided him, short answers, minimal eye contact. Professional distance. But Logan wasn't the type to back off easily. Not in business, not in life. And apparently, not with her. "Dinner," he said one evening, leaning casually against her desk as the office emptied. "Just one dinner, Emily." "No. You didn't even think about it." "I don't need to." "Why?" She finally looked at him then, her guard snapping into place. "Because men like you don't just ask for dinner," she said quietly, "you expect something in return." For the first time, he paused. Really paused. And something in his expression shifted. "I expect nothing," he said slowly, "except a conversation." She almost laughed, almost. But something about the way he said it. It didn't feel like a lie. Still, she said no, again, and again. And again. Until the day he showed up unannounced at her apartment. Back to the door, back to the knock, back to now. Emily took a slow breath, glancing toward the small living room where Henry was asleep on the couch, cartoons still playing softly in the background. Her son, her responsibility, her reason for saying no. Always no. "Emily," Logan called again, softer this time, "I'm not leaving until you hear me out." Her heart clenched. Why was he so persistent? Why her? What did he really want? Slowly, she walked to the door, hesitated. Then opened it. There he stood, Logan Miller. Looking exactly like he belonged in a completely different life. A life she wasn't part of. "You shouldn't be here," she said, her voice barely steady. "I know." "Then why are you?" "Because you keep running from something you haven't even given a chance." Her jaw tightened. "I'm not running." "You are," he said calmly, stepping slightly closer, but not crossing the line, "and I understand why." That caught her off guard. "You don't know anything about me." "I know enough," he replied, his voice lowering. "I know someone made you believe you weren't enough, and now you're punishing yourself for it." Silence, heavy, uncomfortable. Too accurate. Emily looked away first. "You should go," she whispered. "No." Her head snapped back up. "No," she repeated. "No," Logan said firmly, but not aggressively, "not until you answer one question." "And what's that?" He held her gaze, steady, unshaken. "When was the last time you felt safe with someone?" The question hit like a storm. Because she didn't have an answer, not a real one. Not since the divorce, not since everything fell apart. Her throat tightened. "This isn't fair," she said, her voice cracking slightly. "Neither was what happened to you." Silence again. But this time, it was different. It wasn't defensive, it was vulnerable. "I'm not asking for your life," Logan continued, softer now. "I'm asking for one evening, one dinner, no expectations, no pressure, just time." She stared at him, trying to find the catch. The manipulation, the hidden agenda. But all she saw was certainty. Behind her, Henry shifted slightly in his sleep. A reminder, a warning. Emily exhaled slowly, her mind screaming no. Her heart, not so sure. "One dinner," she said finally, her voice cautious, almost reluctant. Logan didn't smile, didn't celebrate. Just nodded. "Friday," he said. As he turned to leave, she felt it. That shift, that subtle, irreversible moment. Because deep down, she knew this wasn't just a dinner. And what she didn't know yet was that this one decision would drag her into a world she wasn't ready for. Friday came faster than Emily expected, and slower than she wanted. All day, her mind had been at war with itself, half of her replaying Logan's words, the other half reminding her of everything she had already survived, everything she couldn't afford to risk again. By the time evening arrived, she stood in front of her mirror longer than necessary, adjusting her dress, then changing it again, not because she wanted to impress him, but because she didn't recognize the version of herself who was actually going out on a date. "Mommy, you look pretty." Henry's small voice pulled her out of her thoughts, and she turned to see him standing at the doorway, holding his toy car, eyes wide with innocent honesty. Her chest tightened. "Thank you, baby," she said softly, kneeling to his level, smoothing his hair. "Mommy's just going out for a little while." "Are you coming back?" The question hit deeper than it should have. "Always," she whispered, pulling him into a hug. By 7 p.m., Logan was already waiting outside. Of course he was. Men like him didn't arrive late, they controlled time itself. Emily stepped out, locking the door behind her, her nerves rising as she approached the sleek black car parked under the dim streetlight. Logan stepped out immediately, opening the door for her, his presence calm but commanding, like everything around him moved with intention. "You look different," he said, not as a compliment, but as an observation. "I almost didn't come," she replied honestly. "I know." That caught her off guard. "You do?" "Yes," he said, closing the door gently after she got in, "but you still came." The drive was quiet at first, not awkward, but charged, like both of them were aware something bigger than just dinner was unfolding. When they arrived, Emily hesitated. The restaurant wasn't just expensive, it was exclusive. The kind of place where decisions were made, not meals. "You brought me here?" she asked, uncertainty creeping into her voice. "I brought you somewhere you'd feel comfortable," Logan replied. She almost laughed. "This isn't my world." "I know," he said calmly, "that's why I chose it." She frowned. "That doesn't make sense." "It does," he said, meeting her eyes, "because for once, you don't have to carry anything here." Inside, everything felt surreal. Soft lighting, quiet conversations, the kind of environment that demanded presence. But Logan didn't overwhelm her, he didn't rush her. He didn't touch her unnecessarily. Instead, he did something she didn't expect, he listened. "You work 2 jobs?" he asked. "Yes." "And still make time for Henry?" "I don't have a choice." "You do," he said gently, "you just choose him every time." That made her pause. No one had ever said it like that before. Not even her ex-husband. The conversation flowed, not forced, not rehearsed. He asked about her life, her struggles, her fears, but never in a way that felt invasive. And when she hesitated, he didn't push. He waited. At one point, she caught herself laughing, actually laughing. And it scared her, because it felt easy, too easy. "You're thinking again," Logan said, watching her carefully. "I'm trying to figure you out. And I don't trust it." "Good," he replied without hesitation. Her eyebrows lifted. "Good." "Yes," he said calmly, "trust shouldn't come easy, it should be earned." That answer lingered longer than it should have. Because it didn't feel like something a man like him would say. Dinner ended, but neither of them rushed to leave. And that's when it happened. As they stepped outside, Emily noticed it. A black SUV parked across the street. Engine running, lights off, her stomach dropped. "Logan," she said quietly, her voice shifting. "I see it," he replied instantly, his tone changing in a way that sent a chill down her spine. The calm billionaire was gone. Replaced by something sharper, more dangerous. "Who are they?" she asked, her heart starting to race. "They're not here for you," he said, stepping slightly in front of her without thinking, instinct taking over. "That's not comforting," she whispered. "I know." The SUV didn't move, didn't approach, just watched. Logan's jaw tightened. "Stay close to me," he said quietly. The words weren't a suggestion, they were an order. And for some reason, she listened. They got into the car quickly, and the moment the engine started, Logan's demeanor shifted again, focused, calculating, like he was running scenarios in his head. "Is this normal?" she asked, her voice barely steady. "No." That single word made everything worse. "Then what is it?" He didn't answer immediately, and that silence spoke volumes. The SUV followed. Not aggressively, not close, but enough. Emily's chest tightened. "I knew this was a mistake," she whispered, her voice breaking slightly. Logan glanced at her, something unreadable flashing in his eyes. "No," he said firmly, "this isn't your mistake." "Then whose is it?" He didn't answer. Instead, he made a sharp turn, then another, the city lights blurring as tension filled the car. After a few minutes, the SUV was gone. Gone, just like that. But the feeling didn't leave. Logan slowed the car, his grip on the steering wheel loosening slightly, but his expression remained serious. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "For what?" "For bringing you into this." Her heart skipped. "This," she repeated. "What exactly is this, Logan?" He finally looked at her, really looked at her. "My world," he said. Silence filled the space between them. "This is why I said no," Emily whispered, shaking her head, her walls snapping back into place. "This is exactly why I said no." "And now you understand why I didn't push you harder," he replied. That stopped her. "You didn't push?" "No," he said, his voice calm but heavy, "because I knew the moment you stepped into my life, it wouldn't be simple anymore." Her chest rose and fell rapidly. "This isn't simple, Logan, this is dangerous." I know. And Henry, she said, her voice trembling now, what about my son? That question hit him hard, she saw it. For the first time since she met him. Logan Miller looked uncertain. He won't be touched, he said firmly. You can't promise that. I can. How? She challenged, her fear turning into frustration. His jaw tightened. Because I'll make sure of it. But something about the way he said it didn't calm her. It scared her more, because now she understood. This man didn't just have power, he had enemies. And she had just stepped into the middle of it. The car stopped in front of her apartment. Silence again, heavy, loaded. I shouldn't have come, Emily said quietly, her hand on the door. Maybe not, Logan admitted. She froze, that wasn't what she expected. But I'm glad you did, he added, his voice softer now, because now you see the truth, and you can decide with all the facts. Her eyes searched his. Conflicted, scared, drawn in. This doesn't end with one dinner, does it? She asked. Logan didn't answer immediately, because he knew the truth, and so did she. No, he said finally, her breath caught. Because deep down, she wasn't sure she wanted it to end. But what she didn't know yet was that the people in that SUV weren't just watching Logan. They had already started watching her too. Emily didn't sleep that night. Every sound felt louder, every shadow heavier, every passing car outside her apartment making her heart jump in ways she couldn't control, her mind replaying the black SUV, Logan's expression, the way his voice had changed when he said my world. By morning, she had already made a decision. She was done. Mommy, pancakes. Henry's voice broke through her thoughts, small and hopeful, standing in his pajamas with messy hair and that same innocent smile that reminded her exactly what mattered. Yes, baby, she said softly, forcing a smile, moving into the kitchen, grounding herself in something real, something safe. Because that was the life she chose, simple, predictable, safe. Not whatever Logan Miller represented. She ignored his calls, ignored his messages. Ignored everything for 3 days. Until he showed up again. This time, she didn't hesitate. She opened the door before he could knock. You need to stop, she said immediately, her voice firm, no softness, no hesitation, whatever this is, it's over. Logan didn't argue, didn't step forward, didn't even look surprised. You're scared, he said calmly. Yes, she snapped, and I have every right to be. I know. Do you? She challenged, stepping outside and closing the door behind her, lowering her voice, because you don't live my life, Logan. I have a son, I don't get to take risks like this. I'm not asking you to risk anything. That's exactly what you're asking, she fired back, frustration rising. You brought danger to my doorstep and expect me to just ignore it. His jaw tightened slightly. I didn't bring it, he said quietly, it was already there. That made her pause. What does that even mean? Before he could answer, a car sped past them, too fast, too close. Both of them turned instinctively, and for a split second. Emily saw it, the same black SUV. Her heart dropped. They're here again, she whispered. Logan's entire posture changed, sharp, alert. Focused. Go inside, he said immediately. No. Emily, his voice cut through, controlled but urgent, go inside and lock the door. But she didn't move, because something inside her clicked. This isn't random, is it? She said slowly, fear turning into realization. This isn't about you anymore, is it? Logan didn't answer. And that silence was all the confirmation she needed. They're watching me, she said, her voice dropping, almost a whisper. Logan exhaled slowly. They noticed you, he admitted. Her chest tightened. How long? Since the night of the dinner. That hit harder than anything else. You said I'd be safe. You are. No, I'm not, she shook her head, panic creeping in. You don't get to decide that, Logan. I can't live like this, I won't. Emily. He stepped closer, not forceful, not aggressive, but grounded. "Look at me." She did, reluctantly. "I told you the truth," he said, his voice steady. "I didn't hide anything from you. I gave you the choice, and I'm giving it to you again." Her breathing slowed slightly. "You can walk away," he continued, "right now, and I'll make sure you and Henry are protected from a distance. You'll never see me again if that's what you want." Her heart twisted, he paused. "And what?" she asked quietly. "Or you let me handle this with you, not around you, not above you, with you." The words hung in the air, because for the first time, he wasn't asking for control. He was offering partnership, but was it enough? Behind her, Henry's laughter echoed faintly from inside the apartment. A reminder, a decision, a line she couldn't cross lightly. "I can't lose him," she said softly, her voice breaking. "I already lost myself once. I won't lose my son too." Logan's expression softened. "You won't. You can't promise that." "I'm not promising blindly," he said, his tone firm but calm. "I'm telling you I've already started changing things." That caught her attention. "What do you mean?" He hesitated, then answered. "I've been cutting ties," he said, "business partners, deals, connections, anyone who operates in a way that could come back to you." Her eyes widened. "You're doing all that, because of this?" "Because of you," he corrected, "and Henry." Silence, heavy. "You'd give up your world for this?" she asked, disbelief in her voice. "I'd rebuild it," he said simply, "the right way." Something shifted inside her, something she didn't want to acknowledge. Because no one had ever chosen her like that before, not even her ex-husband. "I don't trust it," she admitted. "You don't have to," Logan replied, "not yet." "Then why should I stay?" she asked. His answer came without hesitation. "Because you felt it," he said quietly, "that night, at dinner, you felt safe." Her breath caught, "And you haven't felt that in a long time." Silence again, but this time, it wasn't resistance. It was truth. Emily closed her eyes briefly, fighting herself, fighting the fear. Fighting the possibility. When she opened them again, something had changed. "Not your world," she said slowly. Logan frowned slightly. "If I do this," she continued, her voice steady now, stronger, "it's not on your terms, not your pace, not your control." He nodded. "You don't get to decide how this goes." "Agreed." "You don't get to shut me out like I don't matter." "I won't, and if anything puts my son at risk, I walk away," Logan finished. She held his gaze, testing him. "Completely," she added. "Completely," he confirmed. A long pause followed. Then finally, "Okay," Emily said, one word. But it changed everything. The months that followed weren't easy, they were careful. Measured, intentional. Logan kept his word. He showed up, consistently, respectfully, without pressure, building something slowly, something real, something Emily could actually believe in. Henry grew attached to him. Not because Logan tried to impress him, but because he was simply there, present, reliable. And for the first time since her divorce, Emily didn't feel like she was failing. She felt chosen. At exactly 24 months after her divorce, Logan proposed, not with pressure. Not with control, but with understanding. "Not because you need me," he said softly, holding her hands, "but because we choose each other." This time, she said yes without fear. Because this time, she knew she wasn't losing herself. She was building something stronger. And as she stood there, with Henry holding her hand and Logan beside her, she realized something she never thought she would again. She felt safe. And that changed everything. If you made it to the end, you're part of the real ones. Drop a comment and tell me where you watched this from. I want to see every country represented. And if you love stories like this, hit that subscribe button right now, because the next one will be even crazier.